If you've been listening to my show for the last several months, you know that I'm very careful about the quality of the audio. Well, this interview, the quality of the audio is not as good as I would like, but the guest is very special. For that reason, I hope you're going to put up with some bad quality audio, but with incredible content coming directly from my guest, Kevin Harrington. I believe this interview is worth suffering through the bad audio for the amazing gems of knowledge that you're about to receive. You're listening to Your First 1,000 Clients with Mitch Russo. Today, I have a very, very special guest. He's a gentleman who I've had some experience with over the years helping build businesses, but you know him already. His name is Kevin Harrington. And if you don't know Kevin Harrington, that means you never watched Shark Tank, and that means you never bought a product from As Seen on TV, because that's his company. He started that company, and he took that company and parlayed it into a $500 million organization. Now, I could read you Kevin's bio. It's about 17 pages long, but suffice to say that this guy is the picture of success. And on top of that, you know something? He didn't get there easy. He got there hard, just like you and I have. And I have him here today to tell us the story, a little bit about how he got there, but also about some of the things that didn't quite work out. And remember, Kevin, the name of the show is Your First 1,000 Clients. So take us to the point. Welcome to the show, of course.
And yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Mitch.
Sure. Take us to the point when you were just starting out, and basically think of everybody who's listening to this today and watching you and thinking, wow, I could never be like that. So take us back to the point when you actually were just like the rest of us getting started.
So, you know, there's two starts kind of. My first start was when I was 15, being an entrepreneur, and during the summer months. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so I'll just quickly talk about my background pre-infomercials, and then I'll talk about the infomercial start, because I think it's important to understand. I had a father that was an entrepreneur. He had restaurants. He had Harrington's Irish Pub. He had a steakhouse. He had a catering hall, and different kind of food establishments. And when I was 11, I started working for him. And he stressed that he wanted me to be entrepreneurial, not necessarily in the restaurant business, but he opened my mind opportunities. And I think a lot of people today, they have a closed mind, and so I say that you have to want it, even if the same two people can walk into a trade show. And one with an open mind, one with a closed mind. And the open mind person is going to find all the opportunities there. The closed mind person is going to say, that was a terrible show. I didn't see anything, right?
Correct.
So the first thing that my father taught me is be very curious and be very open and look for opportunities, and don't keep all your eggs in one basket. And so I started a business when I was in high school, then I started a business when I was in college, and then in college it took off. 25 employees, $1 million a year. This was back in the 70s.
Wow.
On today's terms, that's $3 or $4 million in sales today.
Sure.
Think of 25 people while you're, going to class, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the early days, but I was lucky. I had a mentor. I had a coach. His name was Charlie Harrington, my father.
Right.
And many people don't have that luxury. So I will say, yeah, I've had some tough times. I've really had some grind out situations over the years. But the good news is I was fortunate enough to have the good advice. And then, so that then when I got into this As Seen on TV business, and by the way, I got into it because I was keeping an open mind, and I'll give you that quick story. But so many folks that would look and say, oh, wow, Kevin's done, billions of dollars in sales and hundreds of products and all this. I was at the bottom of the barrel at one time because we had no products. We had nothing.
Right.
But I would go to trade shows, and it's all in how you approach people. And so one day I ran into this guy, Arnold Morris, and he's cutting through a Coca-Cola can and a hammerhead and a muffler with a knife in his hand.
I remember.
And, yeah, right? It was the Ginsu knife. And I
Yeah.
said, Arnold, that is an amazing pitch. So here again, I do, to this day, I still do about 30 trade shows a year.
Yeah.
So I always recommend that if you sit at home and say, nothing ever comes to me and I never find any good opportunities,
Yeah.
shame on you. Get out there. Go beat the streets, beat the bushes, go to the shows, speak, network, join organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So then I said to Arnold, I'm going to film that and put it up on TV. So the rest is history. But, I met him at a trade show that I just happened to be going to a bunch of. And so, this year, I did 5 trade shows in January, from the Consumer Electronics Show to another electronics. There's a lot of kind of like consumer electronic things and video shows in the early days, but now there's the houseware show in Chicago and the hardware show and the fitness show and the beauty show and the golf PGA show and the toy fair and et cetera, et cetera. So you got to keep your eyes open, and I was lucky to get a good start. But if you don't have a father that can teach you, get a good mentor. That's one of the
Great
last
advice.
points I'll make, and I'll flip it back to you.
Absolutely. Great advice. Thank you, Kevin. But see, again, the point I wanted to make here is that you are open. You walk into that trade show, like you said before, with the attitude is that I'm here to find something that I can build a business around or find a way to make money with. And that was the attitude you walked into that trade show with. So right there is probably the primary lesson about business and life. It's basically you get what you believe. So if you don't believe something as good is going to happen, then guess what? It's not. Same as the opposite. So Kevin, it's hard for us to pinpoint your first 1,000 clients because truthfully, you probably aired one radio or one TV commercial and you got 1,000 clients. But ultimately, the buildup of your company came with experimentation. You tried things. I know Arnold did his shtick exactly like he did it on the floor of a trade show on TV, and you
Yes.
didn't have him change a single thing because I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah.
But what
exactly.
about some of the ones that didn't? And what did you learn as you were coming up in this business?
Well, let me go back to you mentioned 1,000 clients. Let's not talk about 1,000 customers. Yeah, I got 1,000 customers real fast with Arnold, but how did I go find hundreds of Arnolds?
Right.
1,000 Arnolds, right?
Exactly.
That's where I duplicated that success. So a couple things. Number one, I said to myself, I met Arnold at the Philadelphia Home Show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got talking, and I said, Arnold, there's probably some other guys that do what you do. You sell knives.
Yep.
He said, Kevin, there's Billy Mays that sells automotive stuff. There's Sandy Mason sells kitchen stuff. There's John Parkin that sells gadgets. And how would you like to meet all of my people? And, he said, on one condition, I want a commission if I bring them to the table.
Smart.
So instead of me saying no way, which some people have that closed mind, like, oh, I'm not going to, I'll go meet them myself.
Sure.
In literally 1 week,
Mm-hmm.
Arnold started making literally dozens and dozens of major introductions.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I'm shooting shows with all these people.
Ah.
And then, as we then said, so you talk about first 1,000 customers, first 1,000 clients.
Yeah.
I went from Arnold to Billy to Sandy to Tony Little to George Foreman to Jack LaLanne to all these people. And it was because I was networking and marketing myself then. I was getting publicity that I was getting out there and getting placed
Right.
as the new marketing guy to take your business or product to an unbelievable level with this new concept called infomercial, right? And so, and then we took them international. So when I opened in London, then I started getting calls from like Anthony Sullivan, the guy that is now the OxyClean guy.
Yep.
Anthony Sullivan walked in my office. He was a 24-year-old kid and said, I'm watching all these American pitchmen all across England pitching on your TV channel. I can pitch. Let me do. So now we started network. We got Japanese pitchmen. We got South American pitchmen. We got European pitchmen, Germans and Italians and Frenchmen and Englishmen and Swedish pitchmen. So now we went to the 1,000. and because we were doing this on a global basis. So
Sure.
it's all about duplicating your efforts in a strategic fashion.
Absolutely. But as you know, it doesn't always work the first time or the same way. So I got to bet that there are going to be people that you had a really good feeling about and said, this guy's going to be amazing. And then it's a total bomb. And you probably had invested maybe several $100,000 just to get that show filmed and on the air.
Exactly. I mean, look, we got tied up at one point. We started in a very effective manner, low budget TV. I'd spend $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000,
Wow.
$20,000. I'd shoot a full 30-minute infomercial. Okay, I mean, when we shot the first hour of Shark Tank,
Yeah.
it was $1 million budget, right?
Yeah.
$1 million
Yeah.
for one show. Okay, well, you know, when I was shooting my shows, I'm shooting them for under $20,000.
I know.
But at a point, we started seeing celebrities. Hey, you know, this George Foreman, this Jack LaLanne, this Tony Little, you know, boom, it's starting to pop.
Yep.
So we started getting into the whole celebrity world.
Yep.
And now this was, you know, this is where it got dangerous. And we started making some mistakes. You know, we gave Joan Collins $50,000 for a beauty product. She was terrible. She didn't believe in the product. She didn't like the product. We didn't find this out till the day of the shoot. She's like, I'm not going to endorse this. After she cashed her $50,000 check. Okay. She said, I'm only going to host this show. I'm not endorsing. The $50,000 is for my hosting fee. It's not for my endorsement fee.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Get that one.
Yep.
So, you know, so that cost me $250,000 on top of the 50, and it just went down the toilet. And then, of course, I got caught up with Chubby Checker. He brought me a fitness product, and he swore that he was going to lose a bunch of weight before the shoot, and he still came in, you know, a little bit chubby. And I was like, I should have never put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a fitness product with a guy named Chubby. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
you know, we can joke about that one,
Yeah.
but you know, so I mean, I think it's one of the things, and yeah, I made all the mistakes in the world. I hired too many people. I built too much infrastructure. All of a sudden, I felt like I needed to own all my own fulfillment, my own studio, my own customer service center, my own media company. I had 500 employees. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. And so, you know, we were losing money in some of these divisions that could have been profitable. So, you know, the bottom line is, we also got caught up in the celebrity world and made a lot of mistakes. So, you know, we always had to go back to the core strength of selling the product. Okay. You know, you got to sell the product. So, you know, we were masters at that. And every time we went back to that, it always worked.
See, it's really interesting because I think what you're saying is a fundamental truth. What you're basically saying is sell first, build later. And when you get those two reversed or backwards, then the thing blows up because you never get the chance to find what truly will sell really, really well if you've invested too much in infrastructure. Now, I was with you, we were filming at your studio for that course that we did together, and
Yes.
I was blown away by the size of that place. I mean, that's your studio, and it's just, I felt like, oh my goodness, it's just sitting there, you know?
Well, it's, you know, I've since sold it, by the way.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that was 35,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, you know, I bought it at the right price. Okay.
Right.
The guy that built it put $15 million into it. I bought it for $2.3 million.
Yep.
But everything that he had put in there was outdated.
Yep.
So really, I mean, the equipment that he had, I mean, yeah, he had cameras, he had edit suites. It all had to be upgraded to digital.
Right.
So the 2.3 was basically buying the shell and, you know, the building, and then if we needed another $2 million to go into equipment and stuff, and as we got about halfway through that, I realized, you know what, this is way beyond. I'm not in the business of production. I'm in the business of selling. Okay. You know, you want to be a producer, go to Hollywood. You want to be a seller, come to St. Pete, Florida. That's what HSN does, and that's what I do, right? So, you know, it's, you know, I said to myself, we're spending all our time hiring people that can produce shows for Publix and for this and for that and all these different companies, and we'd spend 60 days to get the deal, and then we'd spend 60 days to shoot it, and then 60 days to edit it.
Wow.
It's a 6-month process for 50 grand. I mean, and I'm like, or even if it was 100 grand, who cares? I mean, I could spend 10 grand on an infomercial and go do $100 million in sales.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And as you discovered, you don't actually need to own the physical landscape in order to do it. So, and the thing about it, question I have for you in that story that you just told, when you bought that property and you knew that you got it for a good price, did you also know that you had another several million to invest in infrastructure to get it up to date?
When we first bought it, it was adequate to shoot shows.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't happen. This digital thing happened about a year after we bought it. So when we first bought it, everything was fine.
Oh.
All studios were on the same level.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is the thing about production. Stick around for a day and it's going to change, right? We say in Florida, the weather, stick around for a day and it may be raining or it may be sunny again. But same thing in production.
Yep.
Stick around for a week, a year, whatever. There's always a new editing system. There's always a new camera. But what happened here was the whole world went digital in HD.
Yep.
So the first word came back about a year in that the biggest PBS station in town, the one that does all those telethons for money.
Sure.
You know why they got all the money? Because it's public broadcasting.
Right.
They converted their entire studio, a $4 million retrofit of all the wiring, all the cameras, all the edit suites, $4 million. They were now getting all the projects because they were the only digital studio HD in the city.
Right.
So then every other studio is like, we're going to be out of business if we don't switch.
Right.
Now, I was still able to shoot infomercials on the old, analog systems, but they said, you got 18 months and the TV stations aren't going to take analog anymore.
True.
They all have to be HD. So that's when I said, I got 18 months to sell this place, okay?
Good for you.
So right when we were shooting was right when this transition was happening.
Okay.
And by the way, there was a couple guys working with me there.
Yeah.
They wanted to own their own place. They figured out a way to do it. They knew they were going to have to invest, but they were worker types that could barter and this and that and do the wiring themselves. And so they bought it. It's called Blue Water Media. They're doing unbelievable now.
Good.
And it's a great transition for me because I had 25 or so employees inside that big studio. We were losing money every month. And it's like, it was just a big headache. And one day the roof would fall in and we'd have leaks all over the place. The less headaches, the better for me as a businessman. So we shut down over time. I shut down my fulfillment center and contract that out. I sold my studio and contract that out. Then we did the same thing with our customer service center, our phone centers, and anything that we didn't really need to control, which is more like the creative side, we contracted out.
Sure.
In fact, Virgin, I call this the new gig economy, the U economy. Virgin as a business, they're Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
They're contracting out everything that isn't customer facing right now.
Exactly.
So because they don't want to have the headaches, the overhead, and the trouble of having employees unless it's dealing customer face type situation. So that's kind of my mentality also.
It makes a lot of sense. And again, the lesson here is focus on really what you do best. And what you do best, Kevin, is you find great products and you get them on the air and you make money for everybody. And that's your primary focus. And it took, what's nice about having this discussion with you, Kevin, it's kind of obvious that you didn't get to that immediately. It took you a while to kind of figure it out. And luckily, you had enough success along the way to absorb some of the downside. But see, this is the value of having some wisdom behind you when you start. If you get this up front, then you won't make these mistakes.
I agree totally because I think I've gone down paths, down this one, and made huge mistakes by spending time on deals that I shouldn't have.
Yep.
And it's, so that's what I bring to the table when I mentor or consult people that are coming to me, is I say, look, I've been there, done it, made the mistakes. almost every industry that you can think of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's, I pride myself on being able to really have like this little crystal ball
Mm-hmm.
of what's the best way to go with this particular venture. And so, this is kind of what I'm doing now. Is I said, just to kind of step back, I just hit my 60th birthday. So, I'm an old entrepreneur now, okay?
Yeah.
So I spent my first 30 years of life trying to figure out what do I want to do. And then I got into the infomercial business. Then I spent the next 30 years building massive businesses and having a lot of success. And so that takes me to today.
Yeah.
And now I'm spending my next 30 years kind of counseling, mentoring, coaching entrepreneurs, and then partnering where it makes sense to have a little fun along the way. So I don't need it. I don't have to do it. I'm happy where I am. I'm doing what I want to do, and that's to focus with the people that we can really go build something special.
Of course.
So, and I think that having learned, having dealt with the Joan Collinses and the Chubby Checkers, and by the way, Chubby's a great guy. By the way, just that particular deal wasn't the one that was going to work between us. So I'm not talking bad about anybody. I'm just saying that there's mistakes I made that I've learned from, and now I'm able to help other people as we go forward learn from my mistakes.
Exactly. And it's nice about it. I'm in the same place as you. We're about the same age, and I have evolved to the point where this is even why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to give back. I know there are entrepreneurs out there who started a business and get a little stuck and don't know how to really take it to the point of success. And I mean, how could they possibly have access to someone like you? So that's why this show exists, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. This episode is brought to you by OscarHamilton.com, who edit and produce all of our podcast episodes. They have a great range of services for podcasters at all levels. They can help you set up your podcast, but also offer a couple of excellent services to help you edit your shows and get them up with great show notes. Check them out at OscarHamilton.com. I want to see if we could take this to another level in our conversation. You talked a little bit about your mistakes, which was fun to hear, and you talked about your success, which was amazing. But if you were sitting in front of somebody right now and they had 300 or 400 clients and they're 2 years into their business and they're kind of slogging through it, not really sure what the next thing would be, and it doesn't even have to be any kind of business, what idea, what mindset would you communicate? How would you counsel this individual?
So, I mean, there's a couple ways to go with that. But one is sometimes quantity doesn't make happiness, okay?
Right.
So, I mean, I'll give you a good example. For my own learning curve, I started a speaking business about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And really it's kind of started, taking off more here in the last like 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. But, quantity of speeches doesn't necessarily, make for a great business. It's the quality and it's the groups that you're talking to, et cetera. So, I mean, I know people that used to have 300 clients and they were driving themselves crazy because they're just constantly, it's like a one-arm paper hanger and their head spinning all day long. Mm-hmm. And when they backed it down to about 20 or 30 really high quality clients and then upped the level of support and also upped the amount of money that they charge, their business and their life became a lot simpler and more fulfilling. So that's one of the things that I would say is you do need the 1,000 client base to gain all the information, so you can be a good consultant or coach or mentor. But then at the same time, you don't want to be coaching and mentoring 1,000 on a daily, weekly basis because you're going to drive yourself crazy. So, so now you can almost, it's sort of like I say now, I used to shoot 50 infomercials a year. That's one a week. So I had the studio, I had this, I had this engine that I had to feed.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
So now, by the way, I've done hundreds and hundreds of infomercials. I say over 500, but really it's now over 1,000. Wow. Okay, yep. So I got the 1,000 clients, right? Mm-hmm. But so I learned quite a bit. But why feed an engine over and over and over and over just because you have to? Like I now say, I don't care about doing 50, about one a week. I focus on the core winners. I focus on the ones that I want to. And that's, hey, last year I probably did about 8 to 10.
Yeah.
And they're higher quality, they're more focused, they're with more thought and planning. And I'd rather hit 3 or 4 out of 8 or 10 than hit 6 out of 50. Okay? Because all the time and effort you spend on those 44 that didn't work drives you crazy.
That's right. And so what I'm hearing, and of course, we're in agreement on this. Right now, I run maybe 12, 13 clients a year, so I'm in total agreement with you. But what I heard, which is interesting for me to point out here, is that you basically had an ascension plan to the way you built your life and your business and your career. So you may have started with 1 a week and you ended with 10 a year, but now the ones you do are worth far more money to you and at the same time are higher quality. And I bet you enjoy them a whole lot more as well. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so like just getting back to the speaking, I'm focused more on about 4 or 5 key, maybe 8 or 10 key relationships now.
Right.
And those 8 or 10 relationships, probably 5 to 8, key relationships are 90% of what I do now, instead of, literally, dozens and dozens and dozens of people and places. And, of course, there's a little bit of a learning curve in the world of speaking and coaching, getting out there. So you got to kind of get out there and do some things.
Yep.
But, you also have to be careful, how you do it, and the brand is important. So, I think my attitude now, I was up at Providence, Rhode Island, right at Bryant University, where we had Harvard students, Yale students, Bryant University. There was 8 colleges that came together for an event that I did Saturday night in Providence, Rhode Island. And it's like, that is a special kind of an event that I love doing. And, it's if we're going to make an event up there, let's bring not just 1 college, let's get 8 colleges, right? So I said, let's open this thing up to others. And they've done this on a regular basis, and in the past they've had about 100 people show up for their event. Yeah. And this year it was like almost 500, almost a 5X, 400 plus people that came, and it was an amazing event. So it's about quality, not quantity.
And man, when you do something, you sure do it right. That's just fantastic. So let's move this on to the next part of our time together. I'd like to know what you're passionate about today. What can you share with us about what you're doing? What is driving you today, and how could others find out more about that or be involved?
So this is the thing now. There's a digital disruption happening in the world,
right?
And it's no secret. It just a couple facts. It took, when radio and TV launched, it took 30 plus years for those, for radio to get to 50 million listeners, and TV took 13 years. And, but when Facebook hit, they got to 50 million people in a couple of years. Pokemon Go app got to 50 million downloads in 15 days. Okay. So amazing. Why? It's digital. Right. The world has changed. How many IPOs by 26-year-olds came out at $30 billion like Snapchat did recently 10 years ago, right? You think the world's changing, Mitch? Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
How many 26-year-old billionaires do we have out there now? Quite a few.
Right.
So, like me, I was doing driveway sealing and heating and air conditioning, okay? These billionaires today are doing it digitally. Yeah. And so, it's amazing. This provides opportunity for all of us. So my focus now, TV viewership is dropping while digital and mobile is going like this. So I've shifted gears. 5 years ago, 80% of my business was TV, 20% digital. Now 80% of my business is digital, 20% is TV. So it's a complete shift. We're launching products on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Stories, on Facebook Live, doing amazing things. And so anybody that's out there that has any kind of a product or service or anything, I mean, we're generating leads for big companies. We're selling products for big companies, small-time entrepreneurs, investors, and there's a great opportunity. So we've launched a new company called Quantum Media, and it's just taken off in a very successful fashion. So keep your eyes and ears open for us. Quantum's going to be a force to be reckoned with here over the next 12 months.
Absolutely. So let me just make sure I understand this. If people wanted to present to you a product that they are trying to market, are you open to that? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, we are. We're taking on. We're not doing the 50 a year anymore.
Right.
But probably, I said, in the old days we did 50 a year, and now we're more selective. So we're somewhere in that neighborhood now that we're expanding a little bit. We're probably going to be stepping it up to about 15 to 20 new projects that we're going to be taking on in 2017. And so that, we're very selective.
Yep.
But if somebody's got a great idea, product, service, or business, we're interested in hearing from them. We invest money if it's needed. We'll raise money if it's needed. All different kinds of options.
Awesome. And how would someone get a hold of you or connect to the people that do the evaluation with you and for you?
So special to you and I right now, we're going to give this email. It's Kevin at kevinharrington.tv.
Wow.
It's easy to remember.
Yep.
It's kevinharrington.tv. It's also, my website is kevinharrington.tv.
Yep.
So you can go to the website and you can fill out a form there also. Or if you go direct to the email, Kevin at kevinharrington.tv, you'll get directly through to me and my top people, my son and I, who evaluate the first level of opportunities.
That's so generous of you. I know that everyone listening is probably scrambling to write that down, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. But
I hope so. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, of course. So Kevin, we end every interview with one simple question, and this is what I call the change the world question, and that is, what are you doing if you were to take it 10 years into the future or would like to do that would literally change the world in the next decade?
Well, that's a great question. I know we talked up front before we got started, about some of the things we're going to talk about. But I would say this. I think that I'm the entrepreneur's entrepreneur, if I could call myself that.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I think that I believe that the earlier on that we can educate our kids on how to think open, creatively, to think about solving some of the world's problems. In other words, I'm not going to tell you that I have the idea to change the world. Let me go empower 1 million kids to be thinking about how to change the world. And by the way, by the time we get 10 years down the road, those kids are now in either their teens or their 20s, and now they're changing the world. So that's what I would do, is I would teach the youth of America how to think creatively, and interestingly enough, this is, I hold these, I call them these ideation, kind of transformathon thinking experiences, and they're Shark Tank style, right? I did at Auburn University with the kids. I took pitches on, we called it come into the tiger cage, like the Shark Tank. I want your ideas. Let's empower the kids, right? I'm doing it in high schools. I'm doing it in grade schools. I'm doing it in colleges. And I just did one in Philadelphia at Sanofi Pharmaceutical last week. One of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, $100 billion company, so market cap. So I think empowering the youth of America to come up with ideas that will change the world it's instead of feeding them the fish, it's teaching them how to fish is really what I'm saying. And that's the goal that I've got, because I'm working with a lot of the youth now. I'm doing a lot more things at those younger levels. I'm involved with something called the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. It's called CEO. It's housed right here in Tampa. at the University of Tampa, and we're in over 400 colleges around the United States, empowering collegiate entrepreneurs to do exactly what you just said. So that's my passion, that's my focus, and that's me giving back. This is a nonprofit organization. I don't own equity in it. I just counsel and work with and teach and help the young college entrepreneurs of America. I'm actually done a few high schools and a few grade schools, but formally I'm involved in the CEO, doing amazing things on a monthly basis with them.
That's absolutely incredible. And for everybody listening to Kevin today, this is really what entrepreneurism is about. It's about lifting your own spirits and then bringing everybody else with you, because that's what makes a better world. And I think, Kevin, you are the picture of the most perfect and professional entrepreneur that I can imagine. And it's been such a pleasure chatting with you again today. I just can't believe how wonderful the things you're doing are and how much you're going to be enriching everybody who hears you speak. So thank you, Kevin, for attending and being with me today. I really, really enjoyed your company.
Ed, Mitch, great to be here, and good luck to you. And our paths keep crossing all the time. It's great always to see you, and thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. You've been listening to Your First 1,000 Clients with your host, Mitch Russo. Go to www.yourfirst1000clients.com for a free guide on how to get 1,000 of your own clients. And if you like this episode, please go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review.